Chicago Cubs. News today.
A new story involving the Chicago Cubs started gaining attention in the last few hours. And look, if you've been following baseball long enough, you know very well how this sport loves to test the limits of our hearts, right? Have you ever stopped to think about what really defines the success or failure of a baseball franchise in such a long and exhausting season? Many times, it's not just who you sign, but the silent bets you make behind the scenes and the talents you decide to let walk away. The big question I'm putting on the table today is this: how far does our patience go with the calculated risks of the front office? Are you ready for a season where the success of our main pitcher isn't just about wins, but actually an insurance policy against one of the most controversial trades in recent memory? Pay very close attention to what we're going to discuss here today, because the pieces that are moving right now, both in the training fields of Florida and in international tournaments, will define exactly what you will watch at Wrigley Field this summer. Stay with me, because what's at stake is the immediate future of our rotation. I still remember perfectly the feeling we all had at the beginning of last season when we watched Shota Imanaga step on the mound. It was simply magical. We felt an unshakable confidence with every pitch he threw. But then that fateful day arrived, May 4th, and the hamstring injury happened. I'll admit, I felt a chill run down my spine in that moment. Anyone who plays or understands even a little bit about baseball mechanics knows how much the back leg and the hamstring tendon are the engine of a pitcher. Without a solid base, the whole house collapses. It was agonizing for me to watch his return, clearly seeing that he had to shorten his pitching motion just to protect himself from the pain. We noticed the velocity drop. I could see opposing hitters taking advantage of a fastball that no longer had the same explosion. He wasn't pitching with the same confidence, and we suffered alongside him every inning. But my friends, seeing the footage of him healthy at spring training now has reignited a spark in me. I feel like he's playing with fire in his eyes. We need this guy in elite form, because my reading of the situation is very clear. The season of the Chicago Cubs breathes through the left arm of Shota Imanaga. The numbers behind the scenes show exactly the impact of that physical change. When he arrived from the Japanese League and began his journey in Major League Baseball, the records showed absolute dominance. 15 wins and only 3 losses, with a spectacular earned run average of 2.91. He piled up 174 strikeouts while going head-to-head with the best hitters in the world. But the data also exposes the cruel reality of the injury. After the hamstring problem, he dropped to 9 wins and 8 losses, with the ERA climbing to nearly 4. The compromise mechanics came at a high price for his performance. If you enjoy following news about the Chicago Cubs, go ahead and leave your like. The radar guns this spring are already picking up something different. He's consistently reaching 92.6 miles per hour, and his real weapon isn't just velocity, but the ball's spin rate. Reports indicate that when he generates that perfect backspin, the ball creates an optical illusion that completely fools hitters, producing an absurd number of swings and misses. On top of that, when his splitter works against right-handed hitters and his sweeper breaks aggressively against left-handers, he becomes nearly untouchable. His performance ceiling, if he stays healthy, is that of a true rotation ace. And that's exactly why I say the weight on Imanaga's shoulders has never been heavier. I look at our rotation, I look at the front office, and I realize that the success of his physical comeback is the shield protecting the front office from a public relations disaster. Because, let's be brutally honest with each other, there's a giant elephant in the room that has been keeping me up at night. The decision by Jed Hoyer to go all in on Edward Cabrera. I understand we needed strong arms with long-term contract control. I swear I tried to be rational about it. But watching Owen Casey leave our minor league system hurt my soul. We watched that kid grow. We celebrated every home run he hit down there with the Iowa Cubs. We built huge expectations about seeing that left-handed bat crushing baseballs at Wrigley Field. And now I have to swallow the reality that we sacrificed a brilliant talent in exchange for a promise on the mound. It's a massive risk that makes me break into a cold sweat with every news update. The trade that brought Edward Cabrera from the Miami Marlins drastically changed the team's landscape. To acquire a young pitcher with high potential and years of contract control, the front office had to give up a significant package, whose centerpiece was the talented prospect Owen Casey. Internally, the expectation was that Casey would soon be ready to take on a major role in the Chicago outfield. However, what's drawing the attention of the baseball world right now isn't spring training. It's the World Baseball Classic. Representing Team Canada, Casey has been a destructive and uncontrollable force at the plate. The tournament records show outrageous numbers: a batting average of .500, a slugging percentage approaching .900, along with home runs and multiple runs batted in. In just 14 at-bats, he collected 7 solid hits. He practically carried the team on his back, pushing Canada into the quarterfinals and proving on a global stage that he is more than ready to face major league-level pitching. And watching those performances in the World Baseball Classic makes me want to pull my hair out. I sit in front of the TV, I watch Casey hitting missiles against elite pitchers, and a horrible feeling of what could have been takes over me. We've seen this movie before in baseball, haven't we? The talent you develop, the one you carefully polish, suddenly explodes in front of your franchise, but wearing another uniform. That deeply bothers me. If Edward Cabrera arrives here and struggles with command, starts giving away free walks, or worse, lands on the injured list, my patience will drop to 0, and I'm sure yours will too. We gave up a kid who hit more than 20 home runs in AAA and had an incredible ability to get on base. That pop in the bat was exactly what our lineup needed on cold Chicago nights. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to Jed Hoyer, but I'll admit that every double Casey hits in the tournament feels like a direct punch to the stomach for us passionate fans. The structural pressure on the front office right now is immense and impossible to ignore. Market analysis suggests that the decision to trade Casey for Cabrera wasn't just a roster move. It was a full commitment to the philosophy that playoff success begins on the mound. The front office determined that stabilizing the starting rotation was a more urgent need than adding another promising bat to the outfield. But echoes from the recent past haunt this kind of move. Casey's immediate success on the international stage puts a massive spotlight on every pitch Cabrera throws in a Cubs uniform. Casey's numbers in 2025 already indicated a ready-to-breakout player, with 22 home runs and more than 50 RBIs in the development league. Now they're watching the Miami Marlins rub their hands together with what could become a franchise star. If the piece Chicago received doesn't meet the astronomical expectations of a rotation ace, the narrative around the team's executive decisions could become extremely toxic and hostile throughout the season. That's exactly why all the threads of this story connect. Do you see why I started talking about Shota Imanaga's hamstring? Because he is our only psychological salvation. If Shota Imanaga returns as the dominant monster we saw at the beginning of last season, wiping out hitters with that deadly sweeper and delivering consistent wins, the dust around the Casey trade will settle. We need Shota to be brilliant to mask the anxiety this trade created among us. I really want to believe in the master plan of our front office. I want to sit in the stands, grab a beer, and watch Edward Cabrera throwing rockets while Shota Imanaga displays technical mastery on the mound. If our rotation becomes the most feared in the National League, I might even try to forget the pain of watching a talent like Owen Casey shining far away from home. We are betting absolutely everything on preventing runs rather than scoring them. Our support, our passion, demands that these pitchers deliver what was promised. Imanaga is no longer just a good pitcher for us. He's the guy who needs to balance the emotional scale of a fan base with nerves completely on edge. So after putting all these cards on the table, what do you really think about this entire situation? Do you trust the vision the front office is trying to implement? Think about this hypothetical scenario with me. Imagine we reach the month of August. The playoff race is tight. Every game is a war. Do you see yourself celebrating crucial strikeouts from an impeccable rotation led by a redeemed Imanaga? Or do you think you'll be looking at the scoreboards in Miami, regretting another home run from the kid we sent away too soon? The risk our team has taken is colossal. You know very well that baseball does not forgive miscalculations, and the consequences of these two stories will shape the decade of our franchise. Success on the mound or regret at the plate? Which side will weigh heavier? Don't leave without dropping your opinion in the comments. How are you feeling about Jed Hoyer's big gamble? Keep your eyes wide open, Cubs fans, because this season promises to be a true emotional roller coaster, and there will be no room for a middle ground. Go Cubs!